guys, what is up? My name's Jono and I'm that video guy, and welcome to the very first episode of our motion graphic tutorial series. So, as you guys probably would have seen in the latest video that I just put up, it was a music video that I'd done for one of my friends, and at the start of the video we just had a little title banner just kind of going across, just a little simple title banner. So I thought, hey, it's probably a good start, and let's recreate that today. So, yeah, this is what you guys are going to be creating. So it's got some simple little motion and everything like that in it. Nothing too fancy, but yeah, hopefully we can recreate this. And yeah, so let's jump over into After Effects, and I'll show you what exactly it was made out of. Right, yeah. So we're in After Effects right now. So this is the final comp, as you guys just were seeing here. Yeah, so it just has a little bit of motion, a little bit of cool shiny stuff in it, like going across the top there. And then we got some little Venetian blinds as well. It's always a good touch to add a bit of those in. This is my color palette that I've used for this tutorial, except for this bluey color in the background, just kind of help it stand out. But this color palette here, this is what I've used for this here. And where I actually got this color palette from, because I didn't create this color palette, actually, if you go onto your Googles and you type in this address up here, or if you just type in on Google color palettes, this will be the first result. And you can see here it brings up heaps of different color palettes. Like, some of them are alright, some of them are pretty bad. But yeah, you can see this one down here. I like this one here. So you might want to use that. You don't have to use my exact color palette. You can use whatever color you want. And this is where I get all my color palettes from, because I'm actually pretty colorblind. So it's a bit hard to see. We'll kind of find really cool colors that kind of match each other and everything like that. So yeah, you can get all different color palettes here, and this is kind of where I usually like to start. I like to find a color or a color palette and then just kind of work around that. Right, yeah, so since we got that out of the way, let's start a brand new comp. Right, so you just go new, project. Yep, let's save this guy just in case we've done anything to it. Rightio. So let's create a new composition. So we'll just call this one banner. Okay, and I like to have it at 1920 by 1080. I usually keep my videos at 23.976 just because that's what my camera records at, and if I ever want to put the two together, you won't have any frame rate issues with that. And 30 seconds is fine. You can probably drop it down to 10 or anything like that, but actually let's just drop that down to 10. We won't really need 30 seconds there. Right here, hit OK. So this is what we got here, and I'm just going to bring in the color palette that I used before. So I'll bring that guy in. Rightio, where did I put this stuff? Here we are. This is where I put all my stuff. Rightio, so I bring that color palette in, and I'll just bring in another one just so I can have the same background and everything like that. And rightio, so what I'll do, I'll just drag this guy into the comp. Let's put this guy up here just for 1 second, and let's create a new solid. So just right click, solid, and then I usually just use this color picker tool and say I want this one here, and okay, so that's us there. And right here, so we can delete this other guy, and now let's bring in this other one as well so we can know what we're working with. So I usually just like to chuck it up in the corner here just so it's out of the way, but also easy to get to when we're making any yeah, like making anything the color that we want. Right, yeah, so let's start off. So I usually like to start off with kind of like the bulk of it, like the main piece of it, and that today is going to be our just our red rectangle pretty much. So you go up here, you grab your rectangle tool. If it is on any other tool, just hold left click and you can bring up all the other tools as well. You can put a rounded rectangle in there if you really want to, but let's go with our rectangle tool here. Rightio. So we're going to start off with making our 3 bars, so the 3 bars that go across from left to right. Okay, so let's just create a yeah, just a solid, whatever size you like. Let's say I want it that size there. Okay, that's cool. And now let's make it this red color or whatever color you want. Rightio, that's cool. And now, actually, I fucked up. So let's delete that. Right, so I'm going to start off just making the bulk of our our motion graphic pretty much. So that's going to be the red rectangle. So I'm just going to make that whatever color I want. So you go up to the top here, get your rectangle tool. You can hit Q if you're into keyboard shortcuts, but so you go over here to your rectangle tool. If it is on something else, you can hold left click and it brings up all the other tools as well. So if you want to make it a rounded rectangle, you can go for that. But I like just the normal rectangle tool, and I'm going to choose the fill of it, and I want it as this red here. Rightio. So let's just make this fit 100% so we can kind of see the whole frame. So let's just make this the size that we want. So let's say I want the whole thing to be about that size there. Rightio, that's cool. So let's first just name this. So you can go right click, rename, or you can just hit enter and it just selects it all. Let's just go main red rect. Okay, so that's what we're doing there. And let's just center this up. So we go to our align tool here. If you don't have this open, you can go to window and then find align and it'll bring this up. So let's just center this in the middle. And I have got this motion tool here. This tool was like a plugin that I bought. I think it was only like $30. So it is really helpful. If you guys are like really heavily invested into motion graphics, this will save you a hell of a lot of time. This is not my plugin. I just purchased it. I think another YouTuber actually created it. And you can choose your anchor points that just make everything a whole lot easier. But if your anchor point is off center like it was before, so let's just go Control Z. So you can see my anchor point here is off center. We want it in the center. You go to the one across or one to the left of the rectangle tool, this pan behind anchor point thing. Grab your anchor point and just chuck that in the center of that rectangle there. So now you can see, yeah, the anchor point is in the center. So everything that we do is just gonna, it's just gonna make it a hell of a lot easier. Rightio. So this is what we got here. This is our main starting point. So what we need to do now is we also need to make three other rectangles that are going to be a third smaller each than each of this rectangle here. So let's just duplicate this. You can go select it, go layer, and where's our duplicate? Or is it edit? Edit duplicate, sorry. Or you can just hit Control D or Command D if you're on a Mac. Rightio, so that just brings up another another thing there, another rectangle. And let's change the fill of this one. Rightio, so if we go back into our, why is it not letting me change the fill? Ah, there we are. So if you want to change the fill, you got to change back to the selection tool. So click on our second rectangle and let's change the fill of that. Let's change the color. So I want it as this darker red. Rightio. What we want to do now as well, so even though we put the anchor point in the center, let's change this back up to our anchor point up here. Just so when we change the scale of it, it'll all just go. It'll go from the top here. So if we change it up, it'll start going up towards that anchor point there. Rightio. So let's just change the name of this back to top third. Rightio. So now we know what that is. And let's change the scale of this. So if you hit S on your keyboard, it'll bring up scale. And see this little chain here? Let's unclick that. So that's unlinking the width from the height. So you can change one independently. So we want to change the height of this. So we want to change this to about 33.3%. Because that's what a third is pretty much. So there we are. So you can see it's a little bit off. So let's just move that up. Rightio. There we are. So now it's that's 1/3 of that red rectangle. Same thing. Let's move this. Oh, let's duplicate this again. Let's change the name to middle third. Rightio. Awesome. And now let's change the fill of this as well. So we want this color to be. I want this one to be a grey. Rightio. Awesome. Now all you really have to do is I'm using my arrow keys here on my keyboard, and you can just shift this down. So this may take a little bit of time if you're moving a long distance, but it is a bit more precise and you will be able to see. So if I start moving too far, you can start seeing the other red. So let's move that back up till you can't really see it. Let's shut this off so we can actually just work with our layer instead. And if you're wondering how I'm zooming in and everything like that, all I'm using is the scroll wheel on my keyboard. So you can see here it's just scrolling in and out and it zooms in. And if you ever want to move around to make sure that your edges are fine, hit H on your keyboard or grab this hand tool here, and then you can move the comp around inside without shifting any layers or anything like that. Rightio. So now the final thing is, let's get our bottom third. So let's Control D again to duplicate our middle bar, and let's change the fill of that again. Rightio. Hit cancel. I've got to zoom out so I can get my color palette. Fill, and then selection tool, and then let's go with a white this time. Rightio. Same thing. Let's move this guy down so it covers the entire red square. Rightio. I really should have thought of a faster way to do this, but this is just how I do it, guys. Rightio. So let's make sure that all fits together nicely without showing any of the red. Is that still showing the red? I think it is. Let's just go. Is that all good? Okay, that looks pretty good to me. Rightio. So, and let's change the name of this guy as well. Let's go bottom. Fucking spell. Bottom third. Rightio. So now we're off to a good start. Okay, so what we can do, what I like to do as well, just to keep everything nice and tidy, is to grab this little tool here. It's called the Shy. So if you hit this button here, and then, so you can't see it here now, you'll have to hit this toggle switches mode. It'll bring this up, and you can see the same icon here. So let's just hide all the other layers that we're going to be, that we're not going to be working with at the moment. So that's the background, the color palette, and then also the red rectangle. So as you can see, it's not actually taking it away from the actual comp if we hit the eye layer like it would. So hit the eye layer, it takes away that. But if we hit the Shy, it's just taking, it's just hiding it from the actual layer's name and everything like that. And to get all these guys back, all you have to do is hit that Shy again, and you can see these layers have the different icon there. So I want this bottom third one back, so I'll just unclick that, and now I'll click the Shy again, and you can see they're all gone. So that's just a way to keep your composition just nice and tidy, especially with all the layers and everything like that, so you don't get all mixed up and scrolling up and down in between all different layers. Rightio. So let's start with our top third. So what we want this to do, we want this to come from left to right pretty much. So what we're going to do, we're going to change our anchor point again. So just to make this a little bit quicker for you guys, instead of dragging it over, I'm not going to use this tool. I'm just going to use my motion tool for this. So yeah, if you're changing the anchor point, just remember to get this anchor point tool and move it over to there. So I'm not using anything that you guys can't do inside of After Effects. This is just a bit quicker for the tutorial. So I'm just going to click that, and it goes over straight over to that shape layer there, which is what we want. And now we want to bring up this. Oh, we've already got the scale bring up, but if it's not up already, just hit S on the keyboard again. Rightio. So now we're going to be going from left to right. So with that, all we need to do is, since we got the scale unchecked, we can just change the X value. So if we change this, you can see it's just going from left to right, not changing the entire scale of the object. So if we set that to 0, since we don't want to see it, and then let's go 15 frames. 10 frames, sorry. Quick way to do that is hit Shift on your keyboard and then hit Page down on your keyboard, and you can see it jump to 10 frames. And actually, I might go to 15 frames. And to go frame by frame, you just hit Page down. Right. So Page down, 15 frames. There we go. Rightio. So now let's hit our stopwatch to set a keyframe. Rightio. We want this guy at 100%. Boom. There we are. Let's go back to our 0 and set it to 0. Okay. So now we got this motion here. So we'll preview this. See, it's not very exciting. It's kind of just moving very linear and everything like that. So let's add a bit of flavor to this. Let's select these keyframes here and hit F9 on your keyboard to easy ease them. Rightio. So this probably looks a bit better. Still not what we want. So you can see it's a bit boring, not really changing acceleration or anything like that. Rightio. So you're gonna make sure you have these keyframes selected here. And now let's jump over to a graph editor. So a graph editor is this guy here. So if you click that graph editor, boom, brings up a graph. Now right click, and you want to make sure you're on speed graph. Sometimes it is on value graph here, which is we don't want that. We just want to affect the speed of that it's reaching 0 to 100. So if you right click, if my right click would work, okay, there we go. And then you go edit speed graph. So you can see we got this parabola right here. So it's just saying, okay, so it reaches its maximum speed there, and then slowly goes down. Rightio. So you can see that might not be very smooth. Let's change this. So if you click on one of these points here, so this is where it's going to end. This is where it reaches its final point. If we click on this here, whoop, Control Z, rightio. If you click on this here, it brings up these little pick whip kind of tools. So if you grab this and drag it out, so you can see it's going to smooth out in a lot it's going to end in a lot smoother kind of fashion. So let's see what this looks like so far. So you can see there's probably a big difference in this. So it goes there and it smooths out nice and easy. Of course, we got that curve there that's just going down and just smoothing out nice and easy. We can do the same thing for this side here. Right, yeah. So you got some kind of exponential growth here. So you're going through and it's going to get really fast, really quick, and then slow down nice and easy. So I'll see what this looks like now. Okay, so it's given a bit more life to the motion, and that's what we really want. We don't really want linear keyframes where they're just going from end to end at the same speed. So I'll make them linear just so I can show you guys what it's going to be like if it was. Okay, so this is the original. Pretty boring, right? And now let's make it back into what we had before. If this thing stops being crazy. Okay, I'm just going to Control Z that. Back to what I had it. Right here. And then this is what we got now. So you can see it's a lot better. Just a lot better looking. Right here. So what you can do now as well. So if you jump back out of that graph editor, click this button here to go back to your normal view. And then if you select both these keyframes, hit Control C to copy, and then copy them both to these other layers here. So if we have a look here, oh, okay, we messed up there. So as you can see, these guys still have those anchor points in the center, and that's what changing the anchor point really does. So you can see it just changes where the scale and stuff is actually coming from. Right here. So if we change these anchor points in these guys here, so I'm going to put it back over to this left side, boom, right there, and then same with this guy here, put it over to the left side. So if we have a look what's happening now. Okay, that looks alright, but for my personal preference, I like the kind of staggered look where nothing's happening really all at the same time. So all we have to do, so if we select all of these layers and we hit U on the keyboard, it brings up every single keyframe that we worked on, and that's only the scale. But if, let's say if we used position and rotation as well, it would bring up those keyframes for all three layers. Okay, so what we got now, we can kind of stagger these guys a little bit. So I want the top to come first, then I want the middle to come in maybe 2 frames later, and then the bottom third to come in 2 frames later after that, let's say. Right here, is that right? Okay, so there. Let's have a look at what it looks like now. Okay, so that looks pretty good to me. You can offset them a bit more. Let's say you want the last one to come in later. Don't know why you really would, but hey, let's just keep it offsetted like that. So that looks pretty good at the moment. Rightio. So I'm liking the way that looks, so I'm happy with that, so we can move on from that now. Rightio. So let's unshy these layers here, and now let's work on our red square. Rightio. So we'll unshy this guy, and we've shied all the rest of the layers, so we're just working on the red square. Okay, so we've got these guys here. They're coming in. That's what we want. And we want our red square to pretty much come right as that last one ends. So let's just go, let's hit Alt on our keyboard, and then the square bracket. So that's next to the P on your keyboard. So Alt, square bracket, there you go. It trims the layer right there. Or you can just drag it from left to right to that playhead pretty much. Rightio. So we got our red rectangle here, and that's actually under those layers, so we might actually change that so it's on the top. Okay, rightio. So now it's on the top here. So what we want to do, we want to create a mat, and how to do that. So I should probably explain what a mat is. So a mat is pretty much, I kind of think of it as a window. It's pretty much it's a window. So you're looking through that window, and whatever comes through that window you'll be able to see. Anything outside of that window you won't be able to see. That's probably my best explanation of it. It's probably wrong, but that's probably my best explanation if I had any. Okay, so let's duplicate this layer, and let's call this one main red matte. Okay, so what we got here, so it's the exact same size, exact same shape, everything like that. Let's hit our toggle switches mode again, and you'll see this track matte option here. So you want the layer below it, so the actual normal red rectangle, and if you go to alpha matte, you'll see nothing's changed. But it's using the alpha channel of this guy here, so everything that comes inside of this red rectangle shape, you'll be able to see. So if I hit P to bring up the position, and if I move this to the left, you can see it's just disappearing. You're not seeing it at all. So this is where that window effect kind of comes in. You've kind of got, so we've got a window in the exact same shape here. It's coming around, and if we move it across, you can see it comes in through that window pretty much. So that's kind of why I have that explanation. It's kind of like a window where anything inside of that window you can see, anything outside you won't be able to see. And you can actually do the opposite as well if you do the alpha matte inverted. So if we change this to alpha matte inverted, you can see everything on the outside you can see. So you can change it that way, and so all you really got to think about track mattes is pretty much just windows. So if we keep it on alpha, because we actually want it on this guy here, so we're just seeing it here. Rightio. So let's just move our square out of the way. Okay, so we want it outside of the window pretty much, and let's hit a keyframe. Same thing, let's go, maybe let's try 10 frames, see what that looks like. So again, shift, page down, moves 10 frames. Rightio, so let's start moving this red rectangle back inside of this window. So what we're going to do, we're going to, so if you haven't already, move the rectangle over outside of the window and set a keyframe on the position. So to bring up the position, all you got to do is select your red rectangle and hit P on the keyboard, and that brings that up. Rightio. So yeah, let's move about 10 frames from where we set our keyframe and just hit shift and page down, and that moves across 10 keyframes. Rightio. So let's just, so if you haven't got the position bring up on your matte here, hit P again, brings up the position. All you're going to do is copy the position from this guy to this guy, and that's just going to put it in the exact same spot. So our position here is 981.5. Boom, right there. In there. Whoa. Right, yeah. So our square's in the exact same spot. Okay. So let's have a look what's going on now. Okay, so that looks nice. The three squares here, or three rectangles here, look nice. And then we got a boring old red rectangle coming on through. Rightio, so let's do the exact same thing what we did with our three red rectangles. Let's select them all, or select the two keyframes, and then hit F9 on your keyboard to easy ease them. Let's once again go into the graph editor, make sure you're on the speed graph, click on these guys down here, and then let's just bring these guys up to give it a bit more smoothness to it. Rightio, let's see what this looks like now. Rightio, so that's moving a bit too fast for my liking. So what I might do, I'll jump back over into our normal view, and let's just drag this keyframe out a little bit, see what this does to it. Okay, so I'm a fan of that one now. I might just jump back in and smooth out our end keyframe again. So once again, select them all, and let's just bring this guy a bit further this way. Rightio, let's see what this looks like now. Okay, so I'm liking that one. Actually, I might actually move it back this way a little bit. See what it looks like now. Okay, so I'm liking that, and so that's pretty much the bulk of it. That's the fundamentals right there. That's the foundation of this motion, I guess you could say. So we got that there. Everything's looking nice. Everything's coming in when it's supposed to. And what you can do now, so once this guy reaches the full way across there, what we can do is we can unshow these layers, and then we can set these guys here, these three rectangles, we can just end these guys because we're not really going to need them anymore. So if we select one and then hold shift and select the top one, there we go, it selects all of them. And all you got to do is hit Alt and then the end square bracket. So that's the one next to the starting square bracket, which is next to your P. And boom, that cuts it off. That actually cuts it off at one frame after your playhead, so you can just drag this at the end there. So you can see it comes through and then ends it. Right, yeah, just so nothing else happens in case we play around with this and it all messes up. So we got that coming in, boom. What I might do as well, so this kind of comes in a bit late, as you can see. It doesn't come in right as it ends there. So what you have to do, and this is because of those easy easing, because it's easing into the motion, yeah, just nice and slowly. So what we might do, if we just move it across maybe 3 frames, boom, then it starts coming in on that 3rd frame. So it comes in, ends there, and then the red rectangle starts to come in. And that can just speed it up just a little bit. You're really not going to notice it all too much because it is only 3 frames, but every little bit counts. Okay, so that's what we got at the moment. Now, let's start adding in a few of these little accents that we have. So what we had in here before, we had our pluses that come across just before these guys start. So we had a red plus going across here, a grey plus, and then a white plus. And this just gives it a bit more flair to it. So instead of just having boring old rectangles just going across and everything like that, that's fine if you want to keep it really minimal. But I kind of like to add these little accents in that kind of give it a bit more flair to it. So what we'll do, so let's just shy all of these guys again because we just want to work with the layers that we're working with. Okay, now let's just create a rectangle. So all you need to do, or a plus, sorry. All you need to do is grab your rectangle tool, go up here again, just click the rectangle tool, and let's just create a rectangle of the size that we kind of want. So let's say we just want it nice and small, maybe about there, and then let's zoom in and move over to the center. Okay, so what we want here as well, we want our anchor point in the middle, so let's just center that. Once again, yeah, use the anchor point tool and drag it over to the middle. So let's rename this to plus vertical, and then let's duplicate this layer with Control D, and let's rename this guy to plus horizontal. Whoop. Right here, there we are. And now all we got to do is hit R on our keyboard, bring up the rotation, and let's rotate this guy 90 degrees. And there we are. We have a plus. Awesome. Now let's just center both these guys up, because that's probably the key here for our rotation of them. So if we just once again go to our line, hit this guy here, so align vertical center, and then align horizontal center. And then same with this guy here, vertical, horizontal, and now our pluses are directly in the center of our composition. Now let's select both of these guys, right click, my right click would work again, need a new mouse. Oh Jesus. Right here, let's try this again. Okay, there we go, we got it. So right click and then go pre-compose, and let's just call this plus. Okay, and then move all attributes into a new composition. Okay, right here, so now we have this guy here, which is just a plus. And if we go into here, we can change this to any color, and that's probably the key. So if we go back to our main banner, so we can move this around all fine and dandy. And since it's in the middle, if we rotate this, if we bring up our rotation, it will just rotate around the center, which is good, and that's what we want. Right here, so let's keep that at just 0, just for the time being. Right here, so let's see what's happening here. So our bars start to come in around here. Okay, so I have set these guys right at the start, which might be a bit of a pain, but we'll see what happens. So what we'll do, we will just scrub through, just see where, just so we can line these guys up. So what I'll do here, I'll go back into our plus composition, so you can just double click on that and it'll bring it back up, and then we can change the color of these guys. Let's change it to our red. Okay, I'll just have to drop in our color palette here. Alright, so let's change the plus to our red fill, our darker red, and change the vertical one. Boom, there we are. Go back into our main comp, and now our banner is red. And let's just shut this guy off, just so we don't need that. Right here, so that's what we want. Now let's just move this over to in a place where we want it, and we can see it's a bit too big. So if we go over here, hit S on our keyboard and scale this down, let's say we only want it about that big. And since we have it in the center, it will just scale down nice and easy. If we had it over here, if we put our plus over here, it would just cause heaps of problems with our rotation and scale, and it'd just be annoying to shift it around. Okay, but we want that there. That's about the size we want it, and that's all good. So we're at 39%. Now let's bring up our position. Hit P on the keyboard, and now let's just go back to our beginning. Okay, so it starts off there. Let's move our X to before. That's the key here. If we start it here, it's going to look funny. If we move it before our actual rectangles start, or where they begin, then that's going to help out as well. Rightio. So if we set a keyframe here before, and then let's just move until the end. So let's zoom out a bit so we can see where we are. And let's just move to the end. So it ends there. Once again, grab our X and move it across here. Rightio, and you want to go past that point as well. And this is just so when it actually comes in, you've got a motorbike outside, so you can probably hear it. Rightio, they're gone now. So if we go past the point of where it starts and past where it ends, this just allows us, so it starts, it scales up and it reaches the full scale right before the rectangle actually starts, and then it scales down after it ends, so it doesn't just stop and start. It looks a bit more natural this way. Rightio. So as you can see, it's actually missing the part of it. So since it has easy easing, it's actually missing it. So let's just do the same thing. Let's select all these keyframes, hit F9, easy ease those motherfuckers, and let's go into our graph editor. And just really quickly, let's just adjust these curves so it goes nice and quick and smooths out nice and easy. Okay, so it's still missing it. So what we'll have to do is go back into our main view. Let's go to our middle. So you can see here, let's just drag this away. Just wherever we want to start it. Actually, no, let's not do that, because that's going to mess around the whole thing. Let's unshy all of our layers, and let's just select everything that is moving at this point. So from our top third all the way to our main rectangle mat, and let's just move them a couple frames. Let's just move them like that. We can always shift them back if we need to. It's just so we can get our starting point right. Okay. So that also needs to go a bit further. So we want our plus here to probably start around there, but we don't want the actual rectangle to start yet. So let's move that way. Right, so that probably looks good there. Right, let's see what this looks like so far. Right, so we could probably slow this down a little bit. So we could probably, if we shift this over a bit, so it's not going too fast for the actual rectangle to not catch up, but I kind of like that speed. We could even probably shift it over a tad bit more. See what that looks like. Okay, I like that. I like that, what's happening right there. Okay, so we've got a good starting point for all our pluses with our rectangles. Okay, so let's once again shy all these guys, since we have got it all lined up and everything like that. Let's shy them all just so we're working with the plus. Okay, so our rectangle starts coming in there, pretty much. So what we want is our scale to probably go to 100% right about there. So if we hit S on a keyboard while we've got our plus selected, and let's hit our scale keyframe, and so that's the scale that we want it to start at, or want it to finish at, sorry. And let's go back to our 0 point, and let's just drop it down to 0. And you want to keep this locked because you want to increase the whole thing from in the X and Y axis. So let's just hit 0 on this, and now let's have a look what's going on. Right here, so you can see it just kind of appears out of nowhere while moving, and that's why we wanted to go behind the actual starting point of the rectangle. So you can see here, it starts here, goes up, and reaches its full kind of scale just as it's passing the rectangle there. Okay, so I like that. And what we can do now is we can also add some rotation. So if we go back to the start, hit R on the keyboard, hit a keyframe here, and then let's go to the end of the actual end of the actual where the plus is actually stopping. So we might actually go a bit further, so it just keeps on rotating even when it's scaling back down after we've added that. So let's just rotate this, I don't know, maybe that many times. So we should see what's happening now. Okay, so it is hard to kind of see because it is going so fast, which I might actually just change this again. So if we go back to our position, let's just lengthen this out a bit. Rightio, and I might, so since it's starting a bit too late, let's just go there. Okay, so I'm really happy with that motion now. So you can see you've got the rotation, the scale, and everything like that. Boom. Okay, that's all good. It's all fine and dandy. Now, what we need to do, so when it reaches kind of this point here before it reaches the end, so the end point's about there, let's hit our scale again. Let's set a keyframe there, and then let's just go back maybe this many frames. Set another keyframe. Let's go back to the last keyframe and hit 0. So now it's going to scale up and in, and then before it reaches the end, it's going to slowly scale down and fade out. So that's what that motion kind of looks like there. So instead of it reaching the end point and stopping and then scaling, it's going to keep moving and scale down at the same time. So it gives that kind of natural kind of look. So it's just kind of going in and out rather than stopping at the end point and then scaling down. Rightio. So I'm happy with that. Now all we have to do now is add in the three other rectangles, the three other pluses, sorry, and just change the color of them. Rightio. So all we need to do is if we go up to our project here, and if we just right click, actually sorry, here, Control D, duplicate those, duplicate it another time, and now we have 3 plus compositions. So if we go into our +2, turn back on our color palette, and if we just select our shapes, and we want these guys, so this one, the next one was a gray, and same with this guy, make it a gray as well. Rightio, shut that layer back off. Now let's go back into our original composition. Okay, so it's not in here yet. All we have to do is drag and drop, and boom, there we are. That's where we're at. Okay, so right now all we have to do is just copy our position and everything's all fine and dandy. Okay, so where is our plus? I'm missing it. Where is my plus? Why can I not see it? It's probably on the bottom of everything. Right, that's what you got to be careful of, guys. When using this shy, you might be a bit confused on where everything has gone. Right, yeah, so there, we have our plus. So let's shy everything again. And let's move it over. And then let's just copy all these keyframes. So if we go into our normal plus, hit U, rightio, awesome. So now we have all these guys here. What you will have to do, you will have to just change you will have to add this position keyframe back to where it was, just because we did shift it over and it just made it a little bit quicker. So if we copy all these guys, go to the start of the composition, or go to the start of the layer, sorry, hit Control C or Command C if you're on a Mac, click on this +2, and boom, there we are. So you're probably noticing that you've actually got the grey plus right where the red plus is meant to be. So easy way to fix that, all you got to do is select all of these keyframes here and go across to the start of the composition, and if you just grab this, you can shift it down. So let's move across and see if that's in the right spot. That's pretty much in the right spot. Okay, so all you have to do is just grab this starting point here, and that will change the whole thing. So that's the easy part. So if you just center that up, right, yes, that's in the center. Okay. And what we can notice here as well is that our position here is not starting far enough back. So let's just move this guy back a bit here. Now let's see what's going on. Okay, so that's coming in. It's actually coming in probably Oh, it's coming in probably about the time we want. Rightio. So let's have a look at what's going on. Rightio. So that's looking pretty good. It doesn't matter if this guy ends further. That's all fine. If you want to keep it staggered like that, nothing has to be the same. It's all up to you guys. I personally like it this way when nothing is really the same, so it kind of gives it a bit more flair. But I like how this is looking at the moment. So now all we have to do is add in our final plus. Rightio, so that's going through. Yeah, awesome. What I might do, I might just extend this scale. So as you can see, I might just move it across just a tad bit, and then same with these guys, just so it's not scaling down as it stops. Right, just course before, it was scaling down at the exact same time as the red plus. Right, yeah. So same thing, go back to our project, and we've already got our +3 here. So all we got to do is drag and drop that into the comp, double click on it, and it opens it up. Now all we got to do is change our colors again. So you just open up your color palette, go here, click on the layer, click fill, and this other guy was a white color. Rightio, and we just change both of those, and we're all good to go. Rightio, if we jump back over to our banner, you can see we've got a plus, a white plus there now. So if we do the exact same thing, we just copy paste all of these guys, Control C, go to the start of the comp, go to +3, Control V, and boom. Now we have, if we hit U, we have all the same keyframes. Once again, it's in, whoa, okay. I know what happened there. I know what happened. We forgot to shut off our color palette. Boom. Go back to our banner, everything should be fine. Right here, you can see, once again, you got a white plus where the gray plus is meant to be. Same thing, just select all of these layers, or all these keyframes, sorry, on your +3. Grab the starting point, boom, move that down, center that up. Rightio. Once again, that's coming in too early, so let's just shift this guy across to the right so it comes in at the time we want. So we want it to be there at that point. Let's have a look, see how this is going. Okay, so that's looking nice so far. So we've got all those, everything's looking fine. These guys, no, they're not scaling at the same time. That's what we want. Okay, so everything's looking nice there now. So we're still going to continue working on this top bar here, just for the time being. So what we got that, everything's looking nice, everything's starting to come together. So you could leave it at this point here if you just wanted this bar, and then just add your text in, and that could be your banner. But since it was a music video, I did want the name of the artist and the name of the song as well. So we'll keep on adding to this. So what we'll add next, we'll add a shine. You do see a lot of these guys in other motion graphics and everything like that. It is just a really nice touch. It just adds a bit more flair to it, and it's really, really simple to do. So let's unshine all of our layers, and let's see what we've got. Rightio, what we can do, we can hit U on the keyboard, and it should not close everything, because I'm stupid. Okay, let's select everything, because I just messed everything up. And let's hit U, and that will close it all. Rightio, that's what we want. So we've got a fair few layers here at the moment. Everything's looking really nice. Now let's add the shine. So how we do that? You pretty much do the exact same thing as our red rectangle matte. So let's just select both of these guys and duplicate them. So Control D, it'll duplicate them, and let's move them up to the top. Rightio, let's change the layer of these, the names of these guys. Let's just go main red shine, and then main red shine matte. Okay. Rightio, so we've got this guy here that's moving across. Let's just delete all of these keyframes, because we don't want these keyframes here. Boom. Okay. So what we got now, we just got a static red block, which is what we want. And let's just move it across to when all these guys kind of end. Okay, so that's when that red square ends there, so these guys can start coming in here. So we have our matte there, which is what we want. And now to make the shine, all we have to do is change the scale of this. So uncheck, hit S on the keyboard to bring up the scale of your shine layer, and uncheck this box. Let's make it very thin, maybe about that thin, and then let's scale it up because we are going to give it a bit of a rotation, bit diagonal. So if we go here, then we hit go to our rotation, and maybe let's just do it 30 degrees, 33 degrees. Okay, so you can see nothing's really happening yet, but if we change the fill color, you'll start to see it. So really with the shine, you want to make whatever color that it's shining over, you want to make it a brighter color, a brighter version of that. So if I bring this up, boom, that's what we got in there. So it kind of looks like a shine, which is what we want. And now all we have to do, so since we have this matte here and it's already on alpha, so if we go back to our position and if we move this across, you can see it just moves across that layer there, nothing else. And if we go to the end, you can see disappears. So since our red rectangle is coming in from right to left, we want our shine to come in from left to right, just to keep it fancy like that. Rightio. So let's just set a position here because that's when it ends, or that's when it starts, sorry, and let's just move it all the way across to out of view. Rightio, once again, let's go shift, page down, move 10 frames, and then let's just move this all the way to the end. Rightio. Now let's have a look, see what we got. So we'll start here. I'll just hit B on my keyboard to set the beginning of the composition here, just so it doesn't start all the way from the back. Rightio. So that's moving a bit too fast, but let's add some easing to it and we'll see what it looks like. So it seems to be cutting off there. I think it's just because the linear keyframes, yeah. Rightio. So once again, select all these keyframes, hit F9, go back into your graph editor, and then just change these values here. Rightio. Let's see what this looks like. Just jump back out. Okay, that's still moving a bit too fast, so let's move this end keyframe. That's looking pretty nice, maybe a tad bit longer. Rightio, I like that. I like how that's looking. I like that really nice end part where it kind of slows right down. Yep, I like that. So I'm going to stick with that, guys. You can change whatever speed you want. All you got to do is move these keyframes back and forwards, and also you can change the speed graph as well. Rightio, so I'm happy with that. So we've got that shine coming through, and now let's have a look at the whole thing, just so we can have a look what we're working with. Right, so that looks nice. What I might actually do as well, I might get the shine to come in a bit earlier, because with these easy ease keyframes, it does start a bit later than what you plan to. So I will. So our thing ends right about there. Now let's move both of these guys just this way a tad till it starts coming in. Rightio. So it will start there. Rightio. That's good. That's what we want. Now let's start adding in our text. So what we'll do, I'll toggle switch and shy all of these guys since we don't need them. Boom. So let's start on our text with this here. So we want our text to start coming in probably around there. Okay. So give it a bit of time after the shine comes through, and our text will go from left to right as well, kind of following the shine. So it might work with the shine, so kind of like the shine's kind of revealing it. So what we'll do, so I'll just make any random text up. Let's just go click here. I like to use the text, so if we bring our character down, if you don't have this character up, what you can do, just window character, and it'll bring up your text here. Right, I like to use the text Big John. That's just what I like to use myself. So let's just go that video guy. Rightio, awesome. And then let's just center our anchor point. I'm once again going to use this just to make it easier. And let's hit S and let's scale this guy up. So let's say we want it that big. Okay, and then since our block is in the center, go back to our align. Whoops, let's not do that. Control Z. Let's go back to our line and let's just center it vertically and horizontally. Rightio. So now it's directly in that center of that block. Okay. Now, so what we need to do is I'm going to add a really simple effect that can just make text transitions and text actually coming in and out of out of the video. Just a lot easier, and it makes it look very, very professional. So what we can do, if we right click on our layer and we go to create shapes from text. Okay, you can see that's created another layer, and it's actually hidden this layer. So we can delete this guy here. We don't need our original text layer. We have this here, and if we bring down this drop down menu, go to contents, you can see that every single letter has been broken up into a shape. So we have our T, we have our H, we have every single letter of this, and that's been broken up into a shape. So that is really, really handy. So let's just go back to where we want our text to start, which is there. Rightio. What we want again, we want to once again use a mask. That mask is, yeah, once again a window, and we want our text to come from the top into the center, and every second bit of or every second letter, I should say, should come from the top, and the other second letters should come from the bottom in. And that just gives it a really nice looking just kind of feel to it as well. Rightio. So what we need again is a mat. So if we just unshy these guys, and let's just use our mat here, since it is the size that we want. If we just hit Control D, yep, it brings up another mat. Bring it to the top because that's what we need, and then shy everything. Oh, except for this guy, because we need that mat as well. Now, what we can do, we'll just rename it to main text mat. Rightio. Now what we can do, if we go to our track mat, go to alpha again, you see nothing has changed, except what happened to our shine? Oh no, our shine's still there. Right, good. So you can see nothing has changed just yet. But what we need from that is, if we go into here, drop down our menu, and yeah, so you want to go to contents, and now let's start at the T. So if we drop down our T, drop down our transform, and let's just hit a keyframe on this position. Okay, so if we want the T to come from the top, we grab our Y position here, and we move it back towards the minus. And you can see with this mat here, you can go down, it's starting there, or we can go up. So it's once again using that window effect to kind of bring in whatever you want to see. So let's just set that at 86, that's fine. Okay, let's move, maybe, let's try 5 frames. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we'll see what that's like. It may be a bit too quick, but we'll see. And now let's just go back to 0. So as you can see, starting here, disregard all this other stuff just kind of flashing in, just have a look at the T. Okay, so that might be a bit too fast for me. Let's just move it a tad bit more this way. And it still is a tad bit boring because we do have those linear keyframes. So let's just select all of them, F9, easy ease, go into our graph editor, and let's just smooth out this motion again. See what this looks like now. Jump back over, now let's have a look and see. As you can see, it is moving pretty quick, so you might want that a bit slower. Alright, so I like the look of that so far, and this will come together a lot better once you've got all the text in there. Rightio, so we have got one in, which is what we want, and now what we might do, if we select these keyframes here, make sure you're at the start, the very first position keyframe. If you select all of these guys, Control C, now drop down, or like collapse your T, so you're not seeing all those options and everything like that. Now just go through every second letter, so the A, Control V, and you can see that moves up, and now that should move at the exact same time as you can see there. So let's go back, and now just do that for every second letter. So I'll let you guys do that, and I'll skip ahead, and we'll jump back into the video once we got those all done. And all you have to do is the exact opposite of the H, so instead of moving it minus 86, go plus 86. So that's all you guys have to do there. So I'll skip ahead because this is a bit tedious, and I'll see you guys in a second once it's all done. Rightio guys, I am back, and let's just see what we've got at the moment. So I have put in all of these keyframes, so each bit of text goes from either from top to bottom or bottom to top pretty much. So let's have a look and see what we got. Okay, so that's looking pretty nice, but there is a way to make it look a bit better, and that's once again using that staggered effect. So if you want to keep it like this, you can. It does look really nice. But what we can do is we can add a bit more flair to it. And this is if you just want the text to read kind of left to right rather than come in all at the same time. So once again, let's select our layer that we want to adjust all the keyframes for. So all your text shapes, hit U, and you can see it brings up every single one of these guys' keyframes. So what we can do, if we start from the top, actually one down from the top, and we select all of these guys, rightio, and then just move it one frame, and just keep on doing that. So just keep making your way down, and this will give it a staggered effect. So this just gives it that staggered effect that makes it look really, really nice. So it just kind of makes it so you're reading the text from left to right, or it's coming in from left to right. And this is kind of just like a desired effect. You don't have to have it this way. You can have the text come in all at the same time if you want to. But me personally, I like this look a bit better than the text coming in all at the same time. Rightio, let's just, if I can select all these keyframes properly. So yeah, all you have to do is just, select each keyframe, just keep working your way down row by row. And once you get to the bottom, you'll see the result. Rightio, so this is our last one. Now let's have a look and see what it looks like. Rightio. Okay, that's looking really nice. Let's start from the beginning. Awesome. So as you can see, it's coming in just one at a time pretty much. So it's not coming in all at the same time. It is just coming in just one after another, which is a really, really nice look. So if we want the shine to kind of reveal it, all we have to do is kind of shift these guys back, both of these layers here. So let's just hide that just for a second since we don't really need it anymore. So our text starts to come in there, but we want our shine to be kind of revealing it. So if we start shifting it back, right, so that might be a good place there. So it kind of looks like the shine might be revealing it. And what we might do as well, we'll unhide all this and we might put our shine on top of everything. See what that looks like, if that messes anything around. Yeah, so as you can see, the shine kind of hides the text as it's going through with it. So it's kind of more of a reveal, which is kind of what we want. Ready to go. Awesome. So that's looking really, really good. Our top bar is pretty much done. And you could use this for, I guess, a really simple title if you really wanted to. You could keep it this way. But if you want to add more to it, like you want to add a second box underneath like I did, you can keep on watching. This can also be used as a lower third. Doesn't have to be a main title screen or anything like that. I was originally going to do it as a lower third, but I really did like it as just kind of a main title. Rightio, so that is pretty much done, except we forgot one thing, and that were these little accents that came across from left to right as this red bar came through. So, and that's just a really, really simple effect. It's nothing really too hard to do. So all we really need to do is let's just show everything again, and these guys as well, since we do not need them. So same thing as the pluses pretty much. If we just create our pluses to come in, maybe starting over here, so a bit before where our red rectangle is actually coming in, and then ending past where it ends as well. So all we need to do, this time I'm going to use a rounded rectangle. So once again, go to your shape tool here, hold left click and it brings up more options, and then just go rounded rectangle. And I want my my little whoosh things to be this white color, just because I like that color with these little whooshes. Right, so let's zoom in and let's just make it a size that we want. So go back to your shape tool and let's just make it, okay, I want it that size there. I like that. Rightio, awesome. Once again, let's just move our anchor point. We want our anchor point to actually be, we want it to be over this left side here, I would say. So let's just grab our tool. Just once again, if you guys accidentally forgot how to move it over, let's just put it, zoom in. Now let's just put it right in this center point here. If I can move this anchor point, nope, got to select my tool. Alright, that's pretty much where we want it. Awesome, that's good. Let's rename this to Whoosh Line Top. Rightio, cool. So now all we gotta do is bring up our position. And let's just move back a tad bit before this line actually, before the red rectangle actually starts. Boom. Let's go hit P on our keyboard to bring up our position, set a keyframe, and let's move it to over here. Now, what we want as well is our scale. Set another keyframe there. Let's hit U to bring up both of them. Okay, now we go to the end of our rectangle coming in, and all we got to do is move our position all the way over, pretty much. So let's just move it all the way over past the point of where it ends, and boom. Let's just have a look and see what we've got at the moment. Okay, so it's still looking a bit boring because we do have those linear keyframes, don't have any scale or anything like that to it. So what we can do, let's not go into our plus. So we want our scale to kind of start, be 100% pretty much there. Okay, so set the 100% keyframe, and now let's drop this down to 0. What we want as well, we don't want this checked. We want this to come from one side. So if we do it from here, so set the X value to 0, you can see it's going to come out from one side, which is what we want. So it's kind of just appearing out of nowhere. Awesome, that's what we want. And what we can probably do as well, we can probably shift this back just a tad bit. So it's scaling up and then moving through. And then we just do the same for this guy over here. So it's reaching that point there. So that's where we want our scale to kind of end. Maybe run one frame beforehand, so it's still moving as it's scaling down, and then 2 frames as it were before, and then just go set the X value to 0. So this is what it does. So it starts off, goes through, scales up, moves through, and then scales down. So what we might do, we might move our position that way, and then our scale this way as well, just so it actually reaches its end. Or even, no, let's move it this way. Right here. So that's going to get the full kind of effect that we're after. So once again, let's just add some easing. Select all the keyframes, hit F9, bring up your graph editor, and we only want to do one at a time. So let's hit our position. Let's just move these guys, smooth these guys out. And then same with the scale. You don't want all too much with the scale, so you will have to probably zoom in here. So I'm using this little tool down here to zoom in just on our graph. Probably don't want the scale too much, but it'll just give that pop effect when it kind of comes in. Right, so let's have a look and see what we've got now. Alright, let's make this fit so it's a bit bigger, and zoom out of here. Rightio, so you can see it's not looking all too great just because it actually comes in, it scales up way too quick before our position even starts. So our starts to move about there, so what we want to do is move our scale over. And we might actually increase this length of the scale so it comes through. And we might move this back again. That's what we don't want. We want it to start moving as we scale up. Alright, so that's looking better there now. Now let's just do the same for this guy here. So let's move that out, and then let's bring this back. Maybe one extra frame. Alright, see what it's looking like on this side here now. So it's coming in fine, and then see what that looks like in motion. Alright, so that's looking pretty cool. What we might actually do as well, we might just bring everything out. So to make everything kind of go a bit slower, because it is moving a bit too fast for my taste, what you want to do is just select these last 3 keyframes, and that will bring it out and make it a bit slower. See what it looks like now. Okay, so you might like that there, and then we might actually bring this guy back a bit more, and then just so it scales out a bit slower. Right, so I'm liking that at the moment. So it has got that nice little effect. And I might actually slow down this last keyframe of our position as well. See what this looks like now. Still going very fast right at the end, but I'm liking that so far. Awesome. What I might do as well, I just might tone down our scale a bit on our graph editor, because it is moving a bit too fast. You do want some kind of easing on it, but especially at the end, it's moving just a tad bit too fast for me. Rightio. What I might do as well is I'm just going to shift this last little keyframe over a bit, so it's not. See what this looks like. Rightio. So I'm happy with that. Now let's have a look and see what we've got overall throughout the whole thing. Alright, awesome. And you can see it's not really moving in front of the red square. So all we got to do is shift that over again. And that should look pretty alright. There we are. Awesome. So now it's kind of all in time. Now all you have to do is, once again, just Control D to duplicate, and now we've got our second line. Hit U on the keyboard, select all of our, Control Z, let's not move the position of it just yet. Let's select all of our keyframes, and then let's move our starting position so it does all of them. Rightio, awesome. Now if we want these guys at the same time, you can keep it that way, or you can make it a bit off. So let's just make it maybe 1 or 2 frames behind. See what that looks like. Awesome. I like the look of that. That's cool. Boom. Sweet. Rightio. Now all we have to do is make our second box. So let's hide these guys since we do not need them. And now let's just make our second box. So my color that I wanted for my box was white. So actually let's unhide all these guys and let's just duplicate our main red rectangle, because we want it the same size. And let's just move that all the way up to the top, and then uncheck the shy guy, and then boom, now we have our main red rectangle. But once again, let's delete these position keyframes so nothing's all moving around on us. And now let's go to our fill, and I had mine white. I'm going to keep it that way. You guys can make it any color that you want. Now let's have a look and see what's going on. So you can see it just pops in right there. Let's move this down. So let's grab the white position and just move that down until maybe about there. I like it kind of that gap. Rightio. So that's what we want. That's how the final look is going to be. So what to do now? So when we had when I showed you the original effect, we had the dotted lines going through it. Like the dotted lines kind of started it off. So what we can do, so if we just want our rectangle to start there, that's how we're going to do it. Let's just change the name of this so we don't get confused later. So let's go bottom rectangle. Actually, let's just go white rectangle, just so we don't get confused with our bottom third or anything like that. Rightio. So what we need to do, let's just close that, and now let's just reopen it and go to see this little line here where it says add a little arrow. Click add, and then let's go to trim paths. And now let's drop down our rectangle, go to fill, and drop down our opacity for this, so it's 0. So now it's just a blank thing. And now let's also drop down our trim path, our transform. Is it? No, not our transform. Our trim paths 1. And now, Actually, where am I? Oh, sorry. We want to go to stroke first. So it's right at the top above fill. Go to stroke. Let's hit plus. Nope, it's not what we want. Should have done this before. How do I not remember this? Stroke. How do I turn this on? Stroke width. Yep. Okay, that's what we want. So we want to adjust the stroke width. So let's say you want it about. Let's go. I'm gonna go 8. So 8 pixels, or yeah, 8. And now let's go with dash. So boom, let's create some dashes. Okay, so we have that. If you want to make it bigger or smaller, you can. So you can have bigger dashes here if you want bigger dashes like that. So that actually looks pretty nice. I might just make it a tad bit smaller. See what this looks like. Okay, you can see it's kind of messing up around there, so we kind of want to make it look a bit better. Let's just turn this off. Is that looking good? Right, so that looks alright. That'll do. You can adjust this to the size that you want, and then you can also line cap. You can change this to round if you want round ones or square ones. Personally, I'm going to go with the. Let's go with the round ones this time. I'm pretty sure I used the square ones the other time. And let's just change this to our white. Oh, that was our fill. Sorry. Let's change our stroke color to our white. And boom, now you have white dotted lines. Right, awesome. So let's close our stroke and our fill. And now we're just going to focus on our trim paths. Rightio, so since now we have that dotted line, let's make it just kind of draw itself pretty much. And we want it to draw from the center of this box. So if we're just focusing on our trim paths here now, we want to focus on the start and end. And these are the settings that you guys want. So I have mine at 97% offset, and our start and end at 0, and then 100, and our end at 100%. So if we check our keyframes here, and let's move maybe 15 frames. Okay, now what we got to do, let's move our end to 50%, and now let's move our start to 50%. If we have a look what's going on here, we'll see. Okay, it's actually moving the opposite that I want it to. So let's just flip these guys around. Boom. Now we should have our square, or our rectangle, sorry, being drawn with our dotted lines. So this is what I've used here. This is just the settings that I've used. It may be different for each shape, but this is what I just found that worked. So yeah, if we use our trim paths, so one is going up, one is going down, and that's what makes it go in the middle. And the offset, that's what you change. So if I change this, you can see it changes it from the middle. And you can keep going across and over and everything like that. Let's see if 100, does that put in the middle? Pretty much, yeah. So maybe do it at 100. It'll probably be the middle. Right, yeah. So we got that guy now. Let's add some easing to these guys. Select all of them, hit F9. Right, yeah. So we might want to make this a tad bit longer. And we might just change the start and end of these guys. Same with this top one here. Rightio. Now let's have a look and see what this looks like. Rightio. So I like that. Now what we're going to do is, if we just duplicate this, our white rectangle, let's change this to dotted lines actually. Whoops. What am I doing? Okay. So let's just change this to dotted lines actually. Dotted lines so we don't get confused. And then just change this to white rectangle. Just delete the two. Rightio. So if we go back into here, drop down our menu, go to transform, actually go to content, sorry, trim paths. Let's just delete trim paths so it just leaves the no dotted lines really. And now let's drop back down our rectangle, go to our stroke, let's turn that off, so opacity, just make that 0, and then go to our fill and turn that back up to 100%. Rightio, awesome. So now we've got our dotted lines, but you can't really see it because of the fill of the rectangle here. Now we're going to add an effect. So this is inside of After Effects. You don't need any plugin or anything like that. If you just type in blinds and you go to this transition here, we got the Venetian Blinds. That's the key to this effect. So if we drop it on our white rectangle, and let's just give it a 140. Let's go 134. Okay, so 134 degree direction. And if I adjust this transition complete, you can see just how much or what it's actually doing. So it's just creating just kind of increments, and you can change this here. So you can change the width of it. So if I want really small lines, or I want really big lines, if you want. So you can change that there, those increments. I liked it to what it was in the original actually. So I like that. So if we just have a look and see what our dotted lines is doing, which I don't know why it's not appearing. Let's have a look and see what's going on here. And I feel a bit retarded right now because I actually figured out why it wasn't working, and it's because when we copied our, since we copied from our red rectangle, it actually had an alpha matte set to it. So that's what was happening. So it was just trying to use, if I go alpha matte, see nothing really appears except for those weird kind of dots. That's what was happening. So now that should be all fixed. So let's turn this layer back on. So yeah, now we have both coming through, which is what we want. So that ends there, which that's where we want to start our white rectangle actually appearing in. So if we put a keyframe on our transition complete, let's set that to 100 so it's 0. And now let's move 10 keyframes again. Just keep with it. And then just drag that down to 0. Right now, let's see what this looks like. Right, yeah, cool. So that's looking pretty good. You may want it to start a tad bit earlier. So you may want it to start there. So let's just move it. Let's hit U on our white rectangle. And then, I just start now. Let's move it 1 keyframe. Right, so cool. So that's going to start there as soon as it kind of hits. And what we want to do as well, so when these guys hit and when this starts coming in, we want to actually fade out these guys here. So if we just open up our opacity, so select the layer and hit T, and it'll actually drop it down for you. Set a keyframe. Let's move 3 frames and set that to 0. Right here. So they'll go through. Once that starts coming in, that will actually start fading out. And since it's probably going so quick, you probably won't even really realize. Cool. Yep, you could probably make it a bit quicker if you really wanted to. Sweet. Rightio. What we will do as well is we will easy ease these guys. Go back into our graph editor, and then just add a bit of flair to this curve here. Right, let's have a look and see what this looks like. Cool. So you may want to make this a bit longer if you really want to. Actually, I like it a bit shorter. Okay, I'm happy with that. Reaches that point there, which is good. Now, all we have to do as well is make our text. So if we just go in here, just say we want Jono. Let's delete that. No track matte. We do not want a track matte here. Okay, let's change this to, let's just go Jono Mundo. Why is that looking funny? Jono Mundo. Right, cool. Drop down a character. Yep, we got the same text, which is what we want. Now let's go to here and let's just change our color. Let's make this guy a gray. Right, cool, awesome. Now we got our text in, let's just scale this thing up. So let's actually select it. And then actually I might just go in the center of it just to make it easier so it doesn't mess up our scaling. Now let's just scale this guy up a bit. Right, boom, that's what we want. Okay, and now let's just align it again. So once again, go into your align tab here, and let's just make it, we only want to make it vertical alignment. Actually, no, we don't want to do that. Let's not do that. Control Z, let's go horizontal alignment, just so it aligns in the center of it. And yeah, that looks pretty good. Probably move that down just a touch. Right, that looks in the center to me. So, that's what we got. Now all we have to do is copy paste these Venetian blinds. If we copy paste these guys onto our John Mundo at the same time, boom. Now the text should appear, but you can see it's at the wrong wrong angle. So if we click on John Mundo, and we have to make it the same angle as this here. So that was 119. So if we go 119, boom, it's the exact same angle, and everything's going to be perfect. So, and that's going to come in at the exact same time. So it all looks like it's all one effect. Now let's have a look and see what we've got overall. Right, cool, awesome. I'm happy with that. I don't think I forgot anything. Everything looks pretty good. What I might do as well, I might add these guys in, these dotted lines and all my text and everything, a tad bit earlier. See what it looks like now. Make it a bit quicker. Yep, awesome, cool. Liking the look of that. Boom. So that is our simple just banner, and that's pretty much done. So I'll show you guys what we can do after this as well, just to give it like an ending kind of thing. So right, yeah, so that's all done. Let's trim this comp here. Whoop. So we want it to stay on maybe that long. Now all we're going to do is trim our comp to there. Right click on our work area. Just go trim comp to work area. Boom, we all there. Now let's just create another composition just real quick, and let's just call it final. Yep, okay, let's make it 10 seconds. Now all we have to do is drag in our banner. Boom, put it there. Now let's just duplicate our banner. Right click, go to time, and go to time reverse layer. Now if we drag this to there, should have a look and see that we get an ending with it. So it's pretty much in reverse. Goes through, and boom, now you've got an ending as well. So that's it for this tutorial, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the very first episode. Yeah, if you guys want to see more, if you want to see anything specific, let me know in the comments. Hopefully this isn't too long. This is my very first time doing a tutorial of any kind, so hopefully I did pretty well. Yeah, if you guys want to see anything else or anything in particular, let me know in the comments. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Enjoy.